watching, I'm watching you on my broadcast,
Oh, okay.
I think.
Do you see you? That's the important part.
Oh, no, this is a test.
This is maybe 5.
Yep, that's an old one. Okay, so I think I just clicked the official start. So
there we are. I just found us. Yes.
So now we have officially started. Hello.
Okay.
So in this brief interlude moment, the fantastic Arwen Lynch-Poe and I are going to be double checking that audio is working for all of you lovely folks who are listening in and joining, because all of the tests that I did previously, I used a different speaker configuration. And so, I did exactly what you're not supposed to do. Get the setup all excellent and doing all of the right things, and then change it.
Come on, it's no fun if you don't.
Well, and isn't that part of why being a tarot reader is delightful? Because even though we are working with the same cards all of the time, they are different every single time with every single person, even though they have, all of the underlying foundational similarities. So, really every tarot reader is a master at improv in a way, wouldn't you say, Arwen?
You kind of have to be. I mean, truly, you have to be flexible in order to read tarot. It's not hard and fast, it's not cut and dry at all.
Yeah, no. Like, you can memorize all of the meanings of all of the cards, and it's still going to end up being different at times.
It is. And look at us both. We're so talented. We're looking at we're talking to each other while we're talking on our phone.
It's true, but what just happened is that I confirmed that we have sound and we sound good. And this also, friends, is why it's so nice to have a tech witch in your back pocket, which I don't. I am my own tech witch, for better and for worse.
I'm my own tech witch saying, Arwen, did you reboot the system? Shut up.
That's right. We did not have to reboot the system.
Okay, I have set off my come play with face.
Yay! All of the come play with me's. And first off, thank you so much for being willing to chat about just a few of your fantastic Oracle decks. Today we'll be focusing on gentle creatures, garden dragons, and Elle Qui Oracle, simply because those happen to be the ones that I have. Because I love.
We may need to get you Secrets of the Mystic Garden then. I think you'd like that one too.
Ooh, okay. And so, you're a tarot reader, you're an Oracle reader, and you're a writer. How would you describe yourself?
As a person who wears many, many hats and sometimes gets stuck taking one off while putting the other one on, so I kind of am in between things. I'm definitely a multitasker. I found out recently, about 2 years, right before COVID, actually. Yeah, right before COVID, that I have ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of threw me for a loop. I'm just now beginning to circle back to the idea of, okay, it is a superpower. It is not a lead weight attached to my butt trying to drag me down a clogged toilet. Which is really where I was at first. It was really difficult for me. But I like to do so.
Well, good for you on learning that and journeying around with it all. Do you find that being a deck writer and a writer in general helps with that? Is that part of how and why your brain works and is prolific in the way that it is, or like is it still too new to have figured that out for yourself? Or
no, that's a great question, because that's part of what I realize is that I've got like 9 novels out, fiction novels, with my writing partner. They're not available now. We have to go by that. And I've also got nonfiction, which are my decks, and I've got a book on how to write a book. But when I write an oracle card, I'm looking to see if I have just something. Okay, let's just use the conjure cards. These are this is a shifter deck, I'm pretty sure. I lied. It's red will wiser.
Mm-hmm.
So if I look at that, if I'm just looking at this, just the image, I'm like, okay, what is that? Lunamoth. Okay, what does Lunamoth mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then I go look up Lunamoth, and what I do is like I key in on one word, like let's just say it's not papillon. I cannot think of the French word for moth, but let's say it's the French word for moth.
Mm-hmm.
And I go off from there and I look at mythology and what does this mean, and I get all these facts in my head, and they're like banging around.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start writing,
mm-hmm.
and it starts making sense. It's almost as if you're taking a bag of Legos and shaking them up,
mm-hmm.
and they just start fitting together in the bag. Which actually doesn't happen, but it'd be cool if it did.
It would.
Legos, if you're listening, I'm copywriting that idea.
I can imagine the Legos having little bits of magnets in them, and then you're like, and it's like the monkey tails thing.
Oh, I've created the Eiffel Tower.
Exactly. The Leaning Tower of Pisa.
But
so you're shaking all these Legos up.
It has helped. And my writing partner and I, we actually used tarot to write. We started doing that like within our second or third book. And again, it helps me get a key idea. And with ADHD, I found that if I can tell my little monkey lizard brain, I don't have just a monkey brain. I have a monkey lizard brain. So it's not just squirrel, octopus, starfish. Ooh. But I found that train jump that my mind does actually helps me in writing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll pick up on one symbol in gentle creatures. One of the cards I remember I just had to stare at for the longest time until I got the story. And once you get the story, that's all you have to do is put it down.
Yeah.
And Elle Qui, I did Elle Qui right after I did Secrets of the Mystic Grove. Mm-hmm. Secrets of the Mystic Grove is beautiful, it's colorful, it's gentle, it's all lovely. It's not very diverse. I'll tell people who are looking for diversity, it's not a very diverse deck, but it's a pretty deck. But right after that, I had to do the Elle Qui. Mm-hmm. Now, for those of you that don't know both decks, you've got pretty, meadowy women in armor with bloody, dripping knives. And it's a hard stop.
that is very different.
It's like doing Peter Pan in the morning and doing Othello at night. Oh, there are some similarities, but
we can always find the similarities. Like that's kind of one of our collective superpowers together. We can find similarities all over the place.
Yeah. What y'all don't know is that Kate and I've actually met in person a time or two.
It's true.
And it's fantastic. Our life is not plastic, but it's fantastic.
Agreed. And in just 2 short weeks, I will be able to see you in person again, and we can have a little reunion on and with my boss. For those of you who do not know, who are new to group tarot, who are new to my card of the week that I write for the Edge magazine, card of the week from Conscience or the Traveling Moth. Conscience or the Traveling Moth is my international school bus in bright sparkly purple, which is currently parked in New Mexico, and Arwen is one of my neighbors in New Mexico. Quite fortuitously and quite surprisingly found out. We were both taking a Tarot Professionals business intensive that Jenna Matlin was facilitating. I was trying to remember the co-facilitator, and I was not able to do so. Arwen, do you remember who the other fantastic teacher was that day?
I think it was just Jenna. I think it was just Jenna because she was doing something about the psychology of tarot, and she's got a industrial psychology degree, and I think, but maybe not.
Maybe
it was one of her Thursday nights.
Oh, that's right, because we met at a Thursday night first, and then the intensive thing was after that. Right. Mm-hmm. Good memory. See, yeah. This is why more brains are better. And we started emailing, and at the on the signature line of Arwen's email, it mentions Rio Rancho, New Mexico. And I was like, wait a minute. I am currently in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. This is not of the places in New Mexico that people normally think of. Rio Rancho is not one of them.
It is not. Hey, Kate, somebody just said they couldn't hear me. Marianne Newberry said it's hard to hear me.
All right. That's fantastic. Thank you, Marianne. Oh, interesting. You're able to chat with people. I'm now seeing the chat through OBS, but I
have it on my phone.
Oh, I should probably do that too. Let's see. Audio checking, because you're coming through.
I project well usually.
You know, it's a beautiful thing. Let's see.
In my limited theater background, the one thing I learned was Dr. B saying, "Speak to the back row." So,
yes,
very useful.
It's true. So what I'm seeing on the mic is, okay, Arwen, speak again.
Again. Oh, you meant like more than again. I'm sorry. Smartass is free.
You and I are the same in that way. I am surprisingly literal. I think it is one of the many reasons why we get along so well. Excellent, John. I am glad that you are hearing Arwen. Fantastic.
Hello, John. Hope you and Fred are well.
So cycling back to your decks, one of the things that I personally love about gentle creatures and garden dragons is that they are completely inclusive language. They don't presume any genders of the creatures, and as somebody who has a huge amount of gender fluid and trans friends and non-binary friends, and I myself, while am cis female, am all of the different queers not all of the different queers, because then I would be trans, so reel that back in a little bit. But was that intentional, or did that just happen?
Dragons, it was not intentional. It just happened in the dragons, and that was because I was assuming the voice. I love historical fiction, historical romance, particularly of the Victorian and Edwardian eras. Georgian somewhat, but Victorian and Edwardian I adore.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that happened a lot in the Victorian area was the Royal Societies. And so this was in the Royal Society voice of the Royal Society Explorer. So they would go out and they would have, banana dragons. They go together in clumps and they hang upside down and they fold their yellow wings in. This is how you can find them. So that was in my head the entire time I wrote that, right? Because I wanted it to be a field guide. I like field guides. I'm one of those weird kids that when I could buy a book, I would buy a field book to northern birds, a field guide to rocks, and then read them. So
yes, absolutely. There's so much great information, like all of the minerals, all of the information about the land, like historical information of how it was all formed and when there were ancient glaciers. Yes, absolutely. Love the field guide.
Yeah, and so in the field guide to dragons, you're going to get some propagation techniques here and there, like broccoli dragons don't like heat; they will bolt. So, and if anybody's a gardener, you know this, right? And so I try to incorporate some of that. I'm doing another field guide, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes,
but
please.
Gentle Creatures was I specifically chose to write about them and built their society as being they don't care about gender. They're a they. Their community is stronger than their individual identity for me and the Gentle Creatures. And I sent a couple of samples off to the artist and he liked them. So, with his blessing on the they, and U.S. Game said, yes, please. So that's why we did that. If you read carefully, there's a few he's and she's in there that I miss or that my brain flipped back to because I've got nearly 61 years of he, she. So I'm working to break that. I have friends who are they, and that's very helpful. Like you, I'm immersed in the queer community. ID is a queer film. Luckily, my husband's okay with that.
I have multiple partners who fit that mold too.
Right. So that for me is a very important thing to do. Now, in the fairies that were in the other deck that I'm working on, there's going to be he, she, and they. So it's going to be a mix. Be more of our society, we hope. We're looking to be very diverse in this deck.
And
including skin tone and color and shape and size and abilities. So.
I love that. Is that something that you can share more about right now, or is it still under hush hush?
Yeah, I didn't know if we were waiting for it to be a big reveal. I am working again with Lisa Hunt, who is, we've created the Fairy Tale Lenormand together, and Lisa she's an artist who is so devoted to being better each time. That's like always more. It's amazing. She's doing the field guide to the Flower Fae. And so we have like bearded iris. And we had to go back and forth about which bearded iris we wanted. She wants to know what the species, what the exact flower is, so she can reproduce that flower as realistic. She wants this deck to be like botanical.
Oh, beautiful.
Right? It's amazing. And so bearded iris is actually our drag queen, our bearded drag queen fairy. So
yes. Will there be any shout outs to our Sisters of Perpetual Mercy?
I don't know. I love them. I have a friend who was a sister. I don't know if we're going to put the Perpetuals in because they are, I believe, a trademark group.
Oh, of course they would probably be that. Of course they would. Of course they would. Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know. But we do have a pear-shaped woman is in there, or is it a pear-shaped man? I don't know, but it is doing yoga. So
Yes.
we're looking for more. I don't want skinny white girls
Yes.
in there. No offense to skinny white girls.
None whatsoever, but they're all over the place. And
Yeah.
representation matters.
And so we're going to have old, we're going to have, well, of course, young, but we're going to have, somebody who's old, somebody who is either using a crutch or a wheelchair, or maybe is missing a limb, something.
Yeah.
I want as much diversity in there. It's going to be difficult to portray if somebody is hard of hearing or who can't speak. Those will be difficult to put across. But I have a thought on the we could do sign language for the two of them speaking to each other. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking about it right now.
I haven't seen the deck yet, but I think it has come out. Is a deaf tarot deck. A dear friend of mine, Thorn with Spirit Oracle Tarot, who frequently joins New Moon group tarot sessions, which next one will be March 2nd for anybody who wants to join. They are with the exact time of the new moon every month, so it changes all the time. This month, the exact new moon is 9:34 a.m. Pacific. So the room will open a half hour beforehand. And Thorn is deaf. And so the readings that they give are typing and speaking and in sign. And they were telling me about a deaf tarot deck that was coming out that I'm super excited for. And I have so many other things have been going on in my life that I'm not sure if it's come out or not yet, but that might have some great ideas for you. And there is a magical sign language class that's going to be happening online. I think next month that Thorn is teaching, and I'm very much hoping that I will be able to attend it. And we totally we totally derailed from all of the inclusion and lovelinesses that are coming up in your next deck. And for people who are watching, regardless of when y'all are watching, where can they find out when the deck that when these new decks go live and such?
A couple of ways. Now the new deck, the field guide to the Fae, that's going to be down the road. It's going to be probably another year. We're being very precise and careful in working on it. And we're trying to get, but you can follow me on Tarot by Arwen everywhere. I encourage you to come join me on Discord. I am way more active over there than I am most places. I'm on Instagram. It's a private Instagram now, so if you want to follow me, you have to ask, and I'll go deep down. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, but right now Discord's got my heart. I'm loving Discord.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's more intimate.
It is. We have Discord channels for the other hats that I wear in theater. And so I think it might just be a thing of my brain that's like, if I'm on Discord, I'm doing theater work. I'm not doing tarot work. That I might need to do a little shifting and rethinking for.
I learned about Discord because of a game I play. So I have to, on those servers, I changed to my game name. so when I open it up, it's like, okay, I am Shandy Beach.
That's a lovely way to do it. Maybe I need to figure out how to have my theater name and my tarot name on Discord. Thank you for that idea.
You absolutely can. So.
Delightful. Well, so to our friends who are watching and tuned in, would you like Arwen and I to choose some cards for you? Because my field guide to the Garden Dragons definitely was like, yes. And part of the reason why I have this YouTube channel is to do some deck reviews, and my own personal favorite way, like, not that I don't think that there is a value in the unboxing and, you know, just taking the time to show people all of the cards, because they're lovely, lovely cards. But I personally am of the opinion that the way we really know a deck is to use a deck.
Now, do you want me to read with my own deck, or...
Well, given how many decks you have, I think that is completely and utterly up to you. And I will say that one of the things that I am completely amazed by, because how many decks roughly have you written or collaborated on at this point in your career?
Norman. 2 tarot. 5, 6 oracle. The oracle that I'm pitching out there. Any of my decks here, and I don't know what.
Hi, Marianne. I'm oh,
That's me. I'm looking for something.
That's fine. Your video went a little wonky. Your video went a little wonky there, but it sounded like it's been about 9 decks total at this point.
Yes, I believe about 9 total. Yes.
So I personally have been incredibly impressed that each time that a card from one of your Oracle decks has come up, like right now, spinach is just there being all like strong and full of iron, that you have such clear memories of each of the cards. And is that just happenstance? Is that how your brain works? Is that because you spent so much time writing these? But like, you've written a lot of decks, so remembering all of and one of the ways that Oracle cards, for anyone who's watching who is doesn't know the difference between tarot and Oracle cards do not follow the major and minor arcana at all. They come from all over the place. So with Field Guide to Garden Dragons, it is all fruits and vegetables. Elle Qui Oracle are all of these fabulous, like, different women's names from around the world. Gentle Creatures Wisdom deck are single words like gift and guardian, and uprooted, along with beautiful images. And so I would imagine that it is a lot harder to keep all of those different meanings in your brain in a way that is more challenging than tarot.
Biggest part of any deck is to not, and I have in at least one deck, and maybe in LK also, words that are really similar to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's difficult. And one of the things I've learned to do, I use a program called Scrivener for writing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like to write, I highly recommend it. It's very, very easy for categorizing and doing searches.
Awesome.
And so I will search a term because all writers have tells. You can read, if you read the same author like 20 books, and then somebody sits 6 pages out in front of you, you will be able to pick out that writer's page because there are certain things in, like a Nora Roberts or a J.D. Robb. She is J.D. Robb also. At some point, lips are going to slant over the other one. It's one of her key phrases that she uses. I like it. I understand why she does it, but there will be tells, just like in poker playing, right? So, but I tell people Lenormand is like the German language, where everything means exactly what it says. Kindergarten, child garden, where you grow your kids, right?
Wunderbar.
Tarot is more like the English language. We have rules and things, but we borrow. Or as the quote goes, chase them down the alley and shake things out of their pockets. That's not the exact quote. And then oracles like Chinese.
Oh.
Lots of inflection, lots of possibilities. If you say the word grandmother in Cantonese and you put the wrong inflection on it, you've just called your grandmother an umbrella, if I remember my Cantonese friend correctly. So
yeah, the neutral upswing and downtones of Mandarin, Sichuanhua, Cantonese. I would presume other Asian languages as well, but I don't actually know. I'm trying to remember. I learned a very small amount of Vietnamese, and I can't honestly remember if I was corrected for my inflection, because most of the time the reason I remember things is because I got it wrong and somebody corrected me.
Right. I mean, in English, if somebody says tomato instead of tomato, we kind of assume they're from a different part of the country. You know, tomato, oh, they're posh.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to be reading with one of my decks because I can't find one of my decks.
Oh, that's fine. So what we can also do is this is the first time that I have done something like this with someone else. So I'm like, my normal speaking cadence has all sorts of like interesting pausing places, which sometimes makes it challenging for people conversing with me to know when I've actually come to the end of my thought or not.
I just interrupt the shit out of people, so it doesn't matter.
You know, like that is a solid choice. So I'm feeling into like what I have done on this channel in the past is things like pulling 4 cards and having 1, 2, 3, 4, and having the people watching and participating or tuning in whenever you're tuning in to just think of that number 1, 2, 3, or 4 and hear the message therein. And I'm thinking that since so we have 3 oracle decks, gentle of yours, and so maybe we choose 1 from each, and maybe we do a little bit of tag teaming with it, so that
so you're pulling and then we're reading the same.
Yeah, because then the audiences will get a little bit of how I am just, intuitive hitting off of these, because a lot of times I personally, as a reader, I use oracle cards more for my own grounding before giving readings for other people. A lot of readers will use oracle cards in their readings, and I rarely do that. I will sometimes an oracle deck will be like, oh, this wants to come out at the end of a reading. And so consequently, if I'm using one of your oracle decks for card of the week for either the Edge magazine or for Group Tarot mailing list, I unabashedly read the book, which is part of the reason why I know I like your writing so much, because I have read these books. Because as most professional tarot readers will tell you, you get to a point where you don't read the little white books anymore. Like,
I don't read my own.
I love that.
I'm serious. I'll pull a card up and go, okay, well, that's what this is saying today. And then I'll read it and go, that is not at all what it said when I wrote the book. Oops.
I love that.
I'm continually doing that.
I love that. I love that. So for our friends listening in, think about whether you would like some wisdom from gentle creatures, from garden dragons, or from the Elle Qui Oracle. And we're going to start with gentle creatures. And the card that wants to be shared with all of you who are thinking about gentle creatures being in your life is play. And as a theater artist, this card has such a dear place in my heart. It is about play in all of the ways, playing with yourself, finding the fun in the mundane tasks. It is finding like literal plays, going to the theater, creating art, doing that improv. And this particular card also has a little bit of loving nostalgia for me, because when I was a kid before my dad's accident, he used to pull me around in a little red wagon. And so I see this, and even though I personally am an only child and don't have any siblings, sometimes my best friends would be pulled along in this wagon with me. And I have some super sweet memories from that time. And so there's also this reminder, because those, for me, those memories are also bittersweet, because my dad's accident happened when I was 8, so I had a very small amount of time with him when he was an able-bodied person. And so there's also an invitation here for play and gentleness when memories and parts of childhood aren't always beautiful and suns and roses and things, but that there are still this butterfly, the transformational qualities there.
I'm always struck by the fact that the one pulling is looking back. And I don't know, are you looking back to make sure they're safe? Are you looking back to think the three of you got out and pulled out the bride? You know, and so remembering that sometimes we have to work when we want to play, but if we can make sure we can find some enjoyment in it. You know, I worked for AT&T as a social media manager, and so the only thing we took in was people who were mad. And you know, but I had a coworker who I'm still friends with, and she still has it, or I still have it. It was a little post-it note, and I put /ignoring you, and I would just at some point slap it over on her side so she could see the post-it, you know, and she'd see it and she'd stick it back on mine. And we found ways to engage and be playful, and it wasn't just us, it was the whole group. You know, because you had to manage it somehow, because 8 hours of mad was a lot.
Yes.
And I would remind people who want the gentle creatures message, remember, don't make work so hard that you can't play, and don't make play work. Don't go out there and say, I'm going to play right now because it's on my schedule.
Yes. 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 And interestingly, like circling this back to theater for a moment, because of course play like is a play in my world also. One of the interesting gifts of the pandemic has been some people realizing, wait, this wasn't play anymore. This was like work and effort filled, and that things can be done differently. Like whether some folks have gone off and are doing other things. Some theaters have completely transformed. I come back to this beautiful butterfly here. Some companies have transformed how they work and the cultures they're in so that it is gentler.
Yeah.
Shifting into garden dragons.
So put on my pit helmet.
Oh yes! Oh yes! I am so enjoying imagining you with a monocle. Yes!
I can now not see anything.
Which means that you can see with your inner eye even more better, because that is the best grammar ever.
She's pulling an orange dragon.
Well, let's see. This is the one that wanted to be flipped over. Nope. Tea dragon.
I love tea dragon.
Why do you love tea dragon?
That dragon was so much fun to write because obviously tea dragon lives near hot springs and anywhere there are hot springs, but there's a certain variety of tea dragon that prefers the cool lakes. So, sun-kissed cool lakes, and it was just, and it's such a reminder to relax. I am fascinated by the Japanese tea ceremony. I've never done it. I've never seen it. I've read about it. But part of the process is the actual preparation.
Yes.
There's so much ritual, and you kind of get into this mindset, and it's just not like, I'm going to grab a drink of tea and go. I have spent so much time preparing this cup. I'm holding it like this, but it's really like this, that I need to really think and intake this tea and the smell, and it's a whole sensory participation. So someday I will go to a Japanese tea ceremony. Now that's on my bucket list. But that little tea dragon is all about calm, relax. And I believe there's a little bee with the dragon. I'm not sure. Is that a bee or a fly?
It is a bee. Yes. Yes. We have our pollinator friend.
Yes. And just so y'all know, New Mexico has over 1,500 or 15,000 different types of bees.
And most of them are ground bees.
Bees are good.
The tea dragon always brings up the Eleanor Roosevelt quote for me. You never know how women are like tea bags. You never know how strong she is until she gets put in hot water. And I'm sure I'm bastardizing that quote. And so that's part of the message and the reminder of this dragon for me as well, is that how our potency changes depending on how much we sit in one place. And that tea bag that has sat in the same cup for a long time is going to be so much stronger than the one that's just dunked in a couple times and taken out. And so for me, this dragon also is a reminder of potency, and where like, and that it, kind of like spectrums. Like there are some green teas that I love and adore, but I don't like them strong. Like I need to have them like in for just a few minutes. Like, no, I need to have them in for just a few seconds and then take them out again. Otherwise it's like, whoa, too much for me. And then there are other teas that I'm like, oh, let that sit. Like I want it that strong. I want it that orangey. I want it, going back to oranges, like one of, there's a brand in Portland, Tazo, and they do a sweet orange spice. And
so good.
It is one of those tea bags that it is a one-use tea bag. Like no over pouring with like no repeats like you can do with so many good green teas and oolongs and black teas and things. Yeah. And Marion, I'm so glad that that the tea dragon is your perfect dragon.
And if you like any of these dragons and you want them, the artist is Stanley Morrison. Stanley does figurines. His artwork is licensed in a lot of different ways. You can get like picture. I actually wanted to get the tea dragon and the coffee dragon for my kitchen, but I never have.
Good to know.
May I share my favorite Eleanor Roosevelt quote with you?
Yes, please.
Eleanor Roosevelt said, "I was so delighted when I found out that a rose had been named after me. But then I read about it in the garden guide, and it said, does not do well in bed, better up against the wall." She had the best sense of humor.
She is one of those people. She is what, like, when they ask the question, like, who are some of the people that you would want to have tea with or dinner with? Yep, Eleanor Roosevelt is on that list for me. Pamela Coleman Smith is on that list for me.
I thought about Virginia Woolf, but she's a little depressive, and I'm not sure she'd be a cheerful comedian.
But that also might be it might be a perfect person to ask, because was she really as depressive in her, like, actual goings about of the day as we perceive her now through her writings? I don't know. And last but certainly not least, Elle Qui. This is the deck that I will... This is the deck that I frequently pull out when I, to help myself center before giving readings, of like, what is the energy, what is the glamour, what is the center that will be most helpful or most beneficial for sharing what the cards have to say. In the best possible ways for the highest good of all, sort of thing. I will frequently bring this deck out to, like, help me know where I need to be. And ooh, so this is one that has not come up for me before. I have seen her because I've obviously looked through all of the deck, but this is the first. This is She Who Whispers, Concha.
Oh, Concha.
Concha. Secrets, confessions, confidences. And so the things that are popping up for me are the gesture, which ties into the magical elemental premises to know, to will, to dare, to be silent. And this knowing when to be silent is not something that I am personally always good at. And so for those of you for whom you are wanting the wisdom of the Elle Qui Oracle, maybe remembering when to be silent and just listen and be wrapped in the beauty in the world around you.
Yeah, and when I was small, I frequently heard, I don't know why, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen more, talk less.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's very, and I really, that's one of my favorite cards. Melanie Delon is the artist of this deck, y'all, and she is in Paris, and she does calendars, lots of stuff you can get. And Dan May, I didn't say this about him, but he sells his art as well, so you can get pieces of this art. But this, because she's not like, but she's just like very gentle, like, this is a reminder.
Mm-hmm.
And Elle Qui, she who, is very important in this deck because it's basically like naming a goddess self. Like I have, here she is. This is based on a practice at a spiritual retreat that I used to do every year. They're back to it now. And it happens off the coast of Seattle in the San Juan Islands. And we do a craft, a sacred craft. And one year our craft was to make spirit dolls. And this is she who observes. And so I put the eye in there. This is a found shell. And there's just lots of, and I gave her pants. I didn't want her to be able to use her legs. So that's where the she who comes from. That's Joanna Powell Colbert, creator of the Herb Crafters Tarot and the Gaian Tarot. Herb Crafters is also Crafters. Crafters is also a U.S. Games deck. And I was lucky enough to be able to see it being born because she was working on it through these retreats. So she who is a really sacred thing because we each, you can be he who or she who or they who, right? It doesn't matter. And make that your daily. Today I am they who whisper and listen. You know, so I love that you pull it before. I pull a deck, I pull an oracle before my readings just to kind of set my, what is going to be the most important thing about this particular reading.
Well, Arwen, thank you so much for taking an hour out of your day to talk about some of the decks that you have written, and make sure that you follow Arwen on all of the socials. Tarot with Arwen. Am I saying that correctly?
Tarot by Arwen.
By.
And
see, being corrected.
If I can plug something.
Yes, please.
Today is Tuesday. On Thursday of this week. And if you come follow me on Instagram or whatever, come find me. And I'm giving a class. It is by donation. And that truly means pay what you can. And if what you can pay is attention, that's fine. Come on and take the class. We're going to be talking about the 3 big bad behemoths of tarot. I'll bet Kate can name the 3 big bad cards.
The Devil, the Tower, and I would say the 10 of Swords, but like that would the Hanged Man.
Yeah.
Death.
Yeah.
Like what the third? The third can have some wiggle room depending.
I should have said it was majors because it does. There's like that's 3 of Swords.
I don't want to deal with heartache today. Excellent.
Thinking about it.
Yeah, I know. So how do people find out about your class?
You can go to Facebook, look up Tarot by Arwen 1, the number 1, and that is my business page. Business page.
Business.
And on that,
Getting business
I am from the South. That's my business. On that page, you will see the class being offered there. You do have to register in order to get the class link. I'm not sending it out, which I did last time, and it was logistically a nightmare. So sign up, donate if you can. It's fine. I'm doing this because I like to teach. So.
And once this video is done and processing, I will also put a link to that in the comments below. My theater company that I am involved with in Portland, Fuse Theater Ensemble, we have a similar giving model for our performances and workshops, and we call it Gay AF. Give as your able friends.
It used to be back in the old days, micey-licey. More if you can, less if you can't.
Oh, I like that one.
It's long and nobody, because when I was in the feminist world and the queer feminist world, we're like, we're doing this. Is it micey-licey? Yes. Okay. And you just basically, community-wise, you felt like, if you could give 20, you were covering for somebody who couldn't give 1, right?
Yeah.
You were.
Yeah. Because it is. It's about, it's about an energy exchange. And that's like one of the high horses, which is for another time, because the purposes of today is to talk about the oracles. But I have a whole other soapbox about economics. And Arwen, your camera has frozen, and it is it was in the most perfect pose for that, because it was like, Well, thank you. And with that, friends, we will conclude our live deck review of the Field Guide to Guardian Dragons, Gentle Creatures, Wisdom deck, and the Elle Qui Oracle, all 3 of which were written by my fabulous guest, Arwen Lynch-Poe. Thank you all so much. If you have not liked and subscribed to Group Tarot's station, please do so. And do it. Thank you. And I do deck reviews every month around the full moon. So I will see you back here on the full moon. And if you want to join a new moon group tarot session, you are most welcome to do so. And you can register for that on grouptarot.com. Have a beautiful day.
Seek